I've got notes all the way to Jared, do you find those notes at this chapter problem today?
This is right where we were at yesterday, correct? Okay. There is the formula that you need to know. But for the best formula, replace the 0.05 with R for interest rate. Got that formula down? You look snazzy today. Oh, that's right, you're performing. Right? This center or the old folks?
We are going to Midlands.
Oh, jazz festival. All right.
Wow.
So
And Nolan.
replace 100 with PV for present value and 0.05 with R for interest rate. So the future value is equal to the present value times the quantity 1 plus R to the n when n is the number of years. Sorry, I just had to get my morning coffee. So if you want to solve for PV, if you want to memorize two formulas instead of just turning the formula upside down. So if I know my future value, I know I need $10,000. At some point, this may matter to you. It'll be a long time off in your future, but you'll be looking at a young woman who's in college, who has a pretty serious boyfriend. You'll be thinking, oh my goodness, I'm going to have a wedding to pay for my daughter. Well, I'm not going to pay for the whole thing, but I might give her $5,000. So I gotta figure out how much I need to put in the bank now to give her $5,000. Oh, a lot. Wedding dresses are very expensive. We got married in 2000 for the sum total of $1,314 and some change.
That is so cheap.
What?
That's really cheap. That's like
Well,
the
I
cost
wore
of a
my
wedding
sister's
dress.
dress.
Okay.
We had the reception in the church. We each only had one attendance.
Wait.
The only thing I splurged on was actual flowers. We each had two attendants, sorry.
Wait, only two people for the
Put
wedding?
up with us, yeah, for the wedding party.
Oh.
I
thought she meant to come to the wedding. I was like,
oh. That's about 225
I thought you were saying two people.
I know. We catered it out of the Sam's freezer department.
What's that?
We served little wontons and egg rolls and finger foods and stuff.
Honestly, that sounds pretty lit.
And punch. All right. And you know what? The sad thing is, I can remember that there were about 40 people there.
At the reception?
Yeah, throughout the whole thing. Because everything's in a bliss. Like, I mean, it just, I wish we'd spent the $1,300 on a vacation. Got married at the courthouse. We'd still be as married.
True.
All right, so we're not going to do prac this time here, but you do need to work this along with us to see if you can figure it out. So the scenario is the interest rate's 6%. Should General Motors spend $100 million today to build a factory that will make them $200 million 10 years from now? So using the formulas that you've gotten and just staring at it and trying to do the numbers in your head is going to be too much. So try it, and then we'll talk about how you should think about it.
We get a calculator.
Yeah, absolutely, just so that we don't spend 3 hours doing this.
Assuming you're still not gonna be allowed to calculate for the problem with this.
No, you're not.
Still not gonna have to do anything.
Agreed.
I don't know if
No.
So let's talk about which way you should think about this. Should you think about it future value to present value or present value to future value?
Find the present value of 200 million.
You take that future value and you come back in time and see if the future value exceeds that 100 million. If it does, you win. So that $100 million investment is a bargain. Because according to the interest rates, et cetera, it should cost us 112. Did I hear you just say, what about taxes?
Yeah, so wait until taxes and regulations kick in.
But remember, investments are deductible, so it's saving money. Doubling.
Well, that's what I thought.
So the present value exceeds the cost of the factory. The present value of what it's going to be worth to us in the future exceeds its present value, so we win.
How is it present value if that's in the future?
So the present value of the 200 million exceeds what it's going to cost us, which is the 100 million.
I thought he was going up to write on the board.
Just gonna sketch this
No,
up
we're
with
doing
my pencil.
practice time.
This is just so soft. Yeah,
Why are you doing this?
I guess we hope that fixed it. If not, I guess I got
Are
more.
you leaving the outside spot?
That's what I was told.
No, you're done. You're welcome.
All right. Do you understand this? Do you understand why you build it?
Yeah.
All right. So let's change the interest rate. Let's make that money more expensive. To borrow that 100 million is more expensive.
No go.
No go? Aiden says no way. How much will we lose it, Aiden? 15.
15.
All right, bad news. That's bad news. That 3% change in interest. Now, you're not going to deal in hundreds of millions of dollars in your life. But do you see how a little change, well, I hope you are, but, do you see how just a little change in interest rate can have a significant impact? If you do end up dealing in hundreds of millions of dollars in your lifetime, remember me? Alright, so we should not build the factory. Present value helps you understand why investment decreases when interest rates go up. Even with tax deductions rewarding you for investing, your tax deduction would have to be pretty significant to make that worthwhile. Have to be 16, 17 million dollars, and they don't reach that point generally. And if it did, what do we know understanding the totality of GDP? They gave you enough tax deduction to make it worthwhile to build that factory. We'd be increasing our deficit by that much. All right, practice time. This is more realistic for y'all. You're tired of living in the big city? Look familiar. You want to stretch your legs? You're headed down to Cass County, where country folks still live. You're looking at a 6-acre lot. It's going to cost you $70,000. It's going to be worth $100,000 in 5 years. You might never even build the house there. Is it a good investment? What information do you need? Survey says, buy it. What if inflation's out of control, the Federal Reserve says we gotta rein this in, and they double the interest rate? Wah, wah. Davis says no way, Jose. I hear a very emphatic no back over there too. Run away, that's poor investments.
Yeah, bro. I'd take it.
That lot's actually a bargain.
Yeah, even
At
for
5% interest, that's a bargain.
Well, even for 10%, are you kidding me? You can't even get 6 acre lots for 70 grand.
It's unfarmable land.
Still.
Ooh. Yeah, at 10%, you don't want that. All right, compounding. We're not talking about making specialized pharmaceuticals here. We're talking about interest. It's got a complex definition, doesn't it? The accumulation of the sum of money where the interest earned on the sum earns additional interest, which then is compounded and earns additional interest, which then is compounded and earns additional interest, which then is compounded. I'm not as amused as I am. It's disappointing. All right. It is compounding which makes interest rate changes so impactful. I wish that all of you had parents or grandparents who had the foresight to buy 1,000 shares of Microsoft stock, or $1,000 worth of Microsoft stock 30 years ago.
It was penny stock back then.
It was not penny.
Berkshire A was really expensive. Microsoft started with penny stock.
Not 30 years ago.
Was Berkshire, is Berkshire B the really expensive one, or is that Berkshire A?
A.
It might be.
Look at that difference just for 2%. How does that end up being such a significant? $7,000 is a lot of money. Cause math. So we deal with compounding. We make it real easy. We learn the rule of 70. So you take your interest rate, you divide it into 70, and that gives you when your money will double. So right now, somebody in here was earning 2% or 3% on their savings? Gavin's got 3% because that's how the compounding works. It's not 70 years. It's 70 divided by X years.
I'm trying to figure out whether or not it comes to 70.
It works. I don't know. So if Gavin has his interest at 3% and it doesn't change, puts $1,000 in the bank, when is he going to have 2,000? About 23 years, right? That's not bad. You put 10,000 in the bank.
I don't have my savings anymore.
No.
I closed it yesterday. It's now all in the mutual funds. This is time.
Should always hold some money in
Well, like there's the
immediately
bare
accessible
minimum, because it's the,
money market.
but no, I invested in the thing, I invested in a bunch of Chinese.
All right.
I don't know, I did it yesterday.
So if you do the math, does that work? 70 divided by 5? Yes. No. X is 5%.
So is it by
What
five?
do we, like,
Yeah.
5?
So guys, here's the pain. The pain of this is that we are looking at interest rate gains at a time when you are about to be borrowers and not savers. But know this interest rate gain is coming at a wonderful time for your parents, which makes it a wonderful time for you. Because even if they have not done a good job of saving for their retirement, if we get interest rates up to 7%, that 10-year doubling period is going to be a glorious thing for you. Because by the time you become a saver rather than a borrower, your parents will be about ready to retire. And if they haven't taken advantage of those higher interest rates, guess where they're going to retire? And it's going to be beautifully karmic. Your basement. All right.
So like you can help your grandma and your parents.
Okay. Time to talk about risk aversion. Most people are risk averse. They dislike uncertainty. They dislike uncertainty. Brianna, here's a dime.
Flip a coin. Do I have to use that?
You can have that dime, or you can have any one of these coins that I'm going to pull out of my hand.
Yeah.
Brianna, do you want the dime that's a sure thing, or do you want to take what's in my hand? Could be a penny. Dime. Could be a nickel or a quarter.
Risk it for the biscuit. Risk.
Brianna is risk averse. She just took the dime.
You're joking.
I want
It's
to.
Oh. It's water. It's
Dude, all you
Yeah. Nine with a hand. And the die. Now Rhiannon passed up on a quarter. Nick, however, passed up on.
Yeah, it's like game show. Just either way, it's money.
It's a song.
You wanna bet?
Casey. 2 nickels.
Same price as
Whoa! That's like
one die.
I'll trade you 2 buddies for 1.
For 2 coins.
And maybe I'll take more coins into my hand.
She's lying to you.
She goes.
Risk. Take the risk. With high risk and high reward.
With risk,
Shoot your shot.
you won't just your pressure come into account. Oh my god. Just
6 cents.
Oh! That's a Zol.
At least in this situation. Everyone, you all need to keep the money you're in.
keep it.
You can buy 6 cents worth of candy. I don't know.
And he's got a quarter.
I'm risking it.
Oh, I would keep it.
Big money, boys.
Is that another quarter?
2 nickels, we're rich.
Hey, it was a safe bet. It was a safe bet.
This is all. Someone's gotta win, dude.
Can I teach the lesson?
She's literally writing this.
I'm keeping it.
The whole handful change.
It would have been.
She just knows what we're gonna pick.
It was a quarter.
No, how can I know what you're gonna pick?
Our personalities.
Yeah.
Give me a
Double
penny.
or
Give me a
not
penny. I'll definitely risk it.
But now
What's my interest rate on this?
Ooh. Definitely
Russell's
quarter.
got,
Yeah, I'm getting those tactics.
Russell's got a quarter.
You're the other one.
Higher the risk, the higher you do it. You're risking first. Don't be stupid.
Proposal. Do it.
Do it.
It's only a quarter. It's a
Oh,
silver dollar. Might as well
here,
make the
here,
nickel
here.
now.
It's
a silver dollar.
More the merrier. Let's go. How much was it? We got 11. I'll give you that one.
What'd you get?
I got 11 cents.
Dude, I still have
Invest
25.
in.
Quantity
was
quality. I'm gonna turn around and invest quantity.
Oh, she's getting a quarter out.
She's getting a
Oh,
dollar.
I thought she was putting it away because she knew Davis would not change it.
Ha, change it.
All I wanted
Hey.
God.
Why?
It's like Mike, yeah.
Do I get to know how many coins in your hands?
Nope.
Take that risk. Take that risk.
I'll go
Take
it.
this risk.
Now you can get a game.
This is for the win.
I really hope it's a penny.
Davis from half court.
Soccer. You like this? You like this? It's usually a penny.
Oh! Solid mix.
Now,
Yeah.
It's only 2:33 now.
here's the thing. More of you turned out to be risk takers. But you didn't have any skin in the game, did you?
Nope.
You weren't gambling with your own money. So those of you who are risk averse, even with the money that I gave you, are incredibly risk averse. Who wants to play a game with your skin? Who wants to put some money
I
in?
can't take it off.
This guy right here. You know this guy back here.
Oh! No, I got $20. Put it down, put it down. I don't know why I have that in there though.
Goosebumps on his arm.
I wonder what that's for.
I don't
have
I'm gonna tell you the terms of the game.
Alright.
Tell you the terms of the game. You get to make the decision.
I got you, wait.
Or you can do what I do. I
As
used
long
to
as I
just
don't
have my
confuse
ankles
anyone.
hang off the edge.
Here's the thing, that's your notebook, and you're gonna touch that notebook, and your shoes have walked,
I actually just watched these yesterday.
but you've walked in the hallways, where other people have been in and out of the bathroom, have walked. Alright, so
By that
basically,
logic, you also, when you ever take a picture of a restaurant, you touch.
I'm gonna put a number behind my back, the whole class will be able to see it, you will not. You must look only into my eyes. If you guess the number within 2, so if you're within 2 digits, okay, you keep your dollar. If you don't, you lose it.
Wait, well, what's the reward?
Yeah.
I'll double your money.
There we go.
No, $1. Do you accept the game?
I
Do you accept the risk?
I accept the risk.
Wait, I can't see it.
Yes.
You give one guess.
I don't know what that is.
Are you gonna put it up? Yes. Is he within 2 digits of my number?
No.
No. My number was.
0. Oh!
I don't know, that could be 10.
Did you not hear everyone go, are you gonna put a number up? Are you gonna change it? Are you gonna put a number up?
I think so.
Yes.
I think so.
Yes, do it, Aiden. Do it,
I do not recommend that you visit the casino.
We can't do this.
Wait, do you
Let's go, let's go.
This is just gonna be a trick.
Class, is it a trick?
No.
Was it a trick last time?
Yes.
A little bit.
Oh, it's a snake.
It was a number.
Oh, don't worry, I win and I want
If I win this, you get $4 out of that. I won't win.
You're not getting that.
You have a job.
Survey says.
Ouch.
Give her the money.
Should Aiden be risk averse?
No.
Yeah.
Keep your money, bro.
You also made it
Quadruple or nothing.
Now we're
It would have been equally difficult for him to win if I'd
A
done this.
million.
Well, because
But if you
if you picked in the middle, he could have got 2 up, 2 down.
But he was playing a game against the odds.
You should have done AR.
He knew the odds were against him from the very beginning.
Should have exploded.
No, you
When you invest in the stock market, you know
do only one
the odds
hand.
are against you from the
Yes,
very
so-
beginning.
I'll do you one hand.
You should be risk averse if you enjoy your money. Alright,
Get a risk like this.
I set my
Hey, just do one hand.
Unless you're
One hand like that. That'd be it.
I was reading this article the other day. This dude like beat the casino.
Probably count cards.
Alright,
Alright. Anybody see my remote laying around somewhere? Did I set it down on somebody's desk?
Well, if you guess 3
Okay.
I don't see it.
Thank you. So, read the screen.
No,
no,
it's
it's
pretty
pretty
good.
good.
It's just like in certain games. Example.
We should just guess.
Oh.
I'll put one more.
Yeah, that's.
Alright, someone guess.
Did you do it?
Yeah.
Because no matter what, it
I
lands
would
like that.
never. I got college to pick.
Wait,
We can't
who
risk
flips
it.
the coin?
So, what you're telling me is stakes matter.
If you go like this, it lands on heads no matter what. It's true. It's on heads right now, and if it's like this, it lands literally on heads.
Literally did it 5 times in a row.
It's your points a lot. It's got plenty of
I would buy one of those coins that's only heads.
What are you saying?
Ultimately, folks, here's the deal. The loss of the $1,000
It's too much of a pain.
for the strong majority of people would exceed the joy of winning $1,000. Let's take it down to a more manageable sum for a high school student. $100. $100, still worth it. Still worth it. Most of you could come up with 100 with a week's notice. Come up with some money in a week's notice. Would you take the gamble?
Yeah.
Yes.
So think logically. Think logically. Don't think emotionally. The loss of the $100 compared to the bonus of 100 extra.
You know you can make it up in a short period of time. You're kind of more willing to do.
Yeah, but that's still
What did you get?
$100
Here's the question: what did you get in exchange for that $100?
My time.
No.
You got nothing. You got nothing.
For real. Yeah, heads I win, tails you lose.
Because with a coin flip, both outcomes are equally likely. 99% of you should not take that gamble. All right. This is decidedly subjective. Utility is subjective. It's a measure of well-being that depends on wealth. So the utility function measures utility against wealth. What is utility? How you doing?
Good, how are you? How you doing? Hey, how you doing?
What other curve have you studied that looks a lot like this? And diminishing returns to capital. So at a certain point, a little more money does you a lot more good. But after a while, a little more money doesn't do you that much more good.
Is that like when really rich people get a little bit more money, it's not that much to them, but if you're really poor, you get a little more money to them.
Yeah. This makes perfect sense, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. What do you mean? You literally see them every day.
So the wealthier you are, the less good your money's doing you. It's kind of disappointing, isn't it? Since we all have these fantasies of becoming fabulously wealthy.
Goals.
So Bill Gates makes another $50 million. What's his reaction?
He gives it all broadcast.
We should really
That's
look
like
at
$5.
I make another $5,000.
Here, let's have Steve Jobs.
What about on vacation?
Diminishing marginal utility is what we call this. Diminishing marginal utility. Remember, marginal is about that last dollar. About that last dollar. So at the point at which you have $1 billion, $1 billion and one doesn't enhance your life that much more. By the way, it takes me an entire year to save up enough change to do that lesson every year.
Want it back?
No, we play the game fair and square.
Very good. I'll save it.
All right.
Yeah, you-
It is the utility function and its full understanding which should keep you risk averse. Losing that $1,000 costs you more utility than gaining it does if you are far enough along the curve. So explain to me why so many of you were not risk averse. Except in the lower part of the curve, losing the well still hurts more.
But you know how much I can buy for $200? Pay about $1,000.
I want you to lose $100.
Stuff.
Yeah.
So then you have $0.
I feel like you guys really aren't understanding this, or are you just arguing for the sake of arguing?
I feel like it's just argument.
It makes sense.
So why does anybody gamble?
Well, it
I mean,
just,
some
I feel
people
So
get right.
gambling deviates from the logic of this curve. Gambling fulfills an emotional desire.
how is that different?
So
How is
like,
gambling
he
different?
might die, I win $100.
Then what?
Like, well, not like that's just like, well, it's taking the risk.
Because gambling is solely odds based. At least if you invest in the stock market, you're given some information on which you can base your decisions.
So according to this, you should never risk your money ever.
Yeah.
So you have a full understanding of this, but you still have to invest in the stock market.
I invest only in mutual funds, which mitigate my risk.
Lessen it, but don't get rid of it.
True. However, where's the majority of my investment? Long-term bonds, that kind of stuff. So I have evaluated my risk aversion and decided that I have risked 10% of my retirement savings. The majority of my retirement savings are in the state teacher retirement. Makes me nervous every time the union leaves. Now, does it help you see it? When you see the two side by side? The utility lost far exceeds the utility gain. Andrew? If we moved this initial point further over here, it'd be even more dramatic.
So say if like it was double, so if you have $1,000, flip it, you get 3,000. Like you get 2,000 plus your 1,000.
Would you lose
Like
the same
that.
amount?
No, if you lose it, you just lose $1,000.
Well, that's not what we're talking about.
But I'm
We're talking
asking,
about a dollar for dollar gain.
like how much would that change the utility gain? Do you think?
Theoretically, by the same amount, it might even it out. All right. So all of this talk about risk aversion helps us to understand why insurance exists. And insurance is a money-making industry sometimes. And sometimes it's a money-losing industry. Here's the deal. You face a risk. So you buy a policy from the insurance company, and the insurance company then assumes that risk. What kind of insurance do probably almost all of you in here have? Car insurance. Yep.
So,
Now,
I don't think so.
anybody know what their monthly premium is? Yeah? A month.
wait for just you?
Oh, yeah.
Mine's like 2 something, it just doubles.
It's
Like
like
it's
Gavin?
25, it just doubles.
Oh, double that, you're great.
Yep. All right.
Mine's
So
like-
Hannah's 3. Have you had an accident? No accidents. Gavin, yours is 5?
Yep.
Accident?
Yep.
How many?
One for me, one for my brother.
Anybody got something lower than Hannah's?
That's probably pretty low, but
I don't know.
Mine used to be like 120.
Yeah, that was
Mine-
I think that's what mine.
But that was when I drove the Honda.
150? Okay. How old is your car?
It's 2007.
A 2007. 2004.
My name's on the
Huh?
My name's on
Well, that would explain the $500 premium.
Why?
Even though I
Wait,
don't.
Why?
Because it's More expensive to replace.
It's more expensive to replace the parts on a new car because it's worth more. And here's something that's really hurting the insurance industry right now and hurting insurance buyers. My premium monthly is $160, and it shouldn't be that high for a 43-year-old woman. Except that's my premium for 2 vehicles.
That's $160 for those new cars. Your car's a new too.
Is it cause you're like,
The insurance premium on my new car is well, it's 3 years old now, but is $100 a month.
it's only 60?
How is it so
It's only
cheap?
60 for the truck because the truck's almost 20 years old.
Is it because you're an adult?
No. Oh yeah, and because I have perfect driving record,
No way.
no accidents,
Knock on wood right now.
and only no accidents that were my fault. I've been in accidents.
Yeah.
It's always been somebody else's fault.
So my brother got in an accident and it
I already
raised
lost
my
that.
premium.
So here's the deal: the reason the insurance on the new car is so high comparatively is because all the technology that's on board. If I get hit rear-ended, they just took out the rear view camera. Oh, that's a lot of money.
In 1994, they don't have one.
And if I get sideswiped, there's 5 airbags plus the one in the steering wheel will go off. That's very expensive stuff to replace, not even counting the body. Right?
Mine's $120.
A month?
Yeah, a month.
That's very low for a boy. How old's your car?
97 grand.
And that's why.
And
Okay.
you get lower for like grades and like
My car's
stuff like
your
that.
haircut's what
Yep.
we're your car.
You get a safe driver discount, you
You're not
get
wrong.
good grade discount, you get a discount for having taken driver's ed, blah blah blah, right? Okay. Why? Other than the fact that the state requires you to have insurance in order to license your car, why do you have insurance?
So it gets rid of the expensive.
Right, because Davis pays his premium, because if he goes out and gets in an accident today that's his fault, and the car is totaled,
He can't.
if he doesn't have insurance, Davis has to come up with all the money to fix the other driver's car, or the drivers' cars, and pay for his medical bills, and replace his vehicle.
And you know how
So,
many people actually.
considering how much you would have to save every month to afford that potential cost, insurance then becomes to you as an individual insurance owner a huge bargain.
Hey, Hope, legally, if I bought insurance and I rear-ended Dorian, would I legally have to pay for it? Like, what if I just did it?
Yes.
What if I just did it? Like, how would they force